gonna get started. We're gonna call this meeting to order. Thanks everybody for being here. We're gonna open the floor to public comment. I don't see anybody, don't hear anybody. So we'll move on to approving the minutes of the August 1st, 2023 meeting. Any questions, comments, concerns on the minutes?
So it looked like at the bottom, I don't usually read this as carefully, but it said the next meeting was August 1st.
Yep,
Like that
I need to change that. Yep. Brett caught it too.
I caught it.
Thank you to those who read them.
Do you want to say anything about the handbook committee met prior?
It's on that has its own, that'll be.
This will be the
next one.
29th instead
Right.
of that's two. We're all the same team, right?
Yeah, but I don't typically see stuff
I
like
do.
that. It just all of a sudden, okay.
Desiree's allowed to make mistakes, it's okay. All right, any,
So it needs a motion.
yep,
Oh,
any other
I
questions?
move we approve the minutes.
With the correction.
I move we approve as amended, right?
Well, yeah, did you amend it before? Oh, we have to do that here. Okay, yes, as amended.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
Me.
All right.
Any discussion?
All right, we will move to the report from the library director.
Just a couple of other additions. The Boys and Girls Club offered, in Oshkosh, offered a recycling event. So we took advantage and Ben loaded up my car and I went there on Saturday and we got rid of a lot of old computer equipment.
Nice.
So that was very nice. So,
Long were you?
over half an hour, about 50
Worth
cars
it.
at least, several blocks worth. They were surprised at how many people, and you wouldn't believe how ancient some of the equipment was that people were dumping off. It looked like 70s and 80s stuff. So.
2 hours in line, green light the other.
Okay, wow. Well, then this was a better choice. So,
Good.
Do you know if they're gonna do like a take apart taker program, or is it just
I
their
don't know,
recycling?
say that was
Okay.
recycling it, yeah.
Okay.
And then just one other fun thing is that with Parks and Rec, they are doing a volleyball league, and so there's a city volleyball team. So I signed up to be on that. That'll be fun. But I can't make tomorrow's match because I already have school stuff going on. So that's like the next 4 Wednesdays.
You're
So-
gonna be on the city ball,
Uh-huh.
and you're also tennis, right?
Yeah, I better not get injured. I can't go tomorrow because I'm playing tennis. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, any questions or comments on the rest of the report? All right, we're gonna move to review the payments of the August 2023 invoices.
Hold on. The invoices, right?
Have we discussed what CompuType is?
Those are barcodes.
Oh, got it.
What did Mudrow Electric do here? The $260?
Right. I don't remember offhand because we've been talking about other things moving around. I'll get back to you.
Okay, what is, okay, I know what the elevator is, that's just a checkup, right? Is there anything?
Yep, that's the typical, that's a quarterly.
Right.
Yep.
And, okay. No, nothing else.
Anybody else?
Madero Electric was lights out in the parking lot
Oh,
and
okay.
other high up lights that Terry can't reach. That's what
Okay.
they came and did.
Okay. Thank you. What was, there was a charge for $190, Carl?
Carl Stewart Rieger are gonna be featuring one of his books as a book club title, and so we bought several copies of that, so that we will have, like, after our book club discusses it, we will have a little circulating book club kit for it.
Okay.
Nita has those. They do really well.
Yeah, Carl.
Yeah, and he's also doing, he's doing a presentation also in September, separate from the book club discussing his talk, but yeah.
Any other questions? All right. We're gonna receive an update on the strategic planning process, discussing also the proposed mission statement and use of tagline.
Do we have to approve those invoices?
No, okay. Do you wanna go?
There's not been a lot that's happened in the past month, so Desiree and I are looking at the different examples of what a strategic plan could look like. We both sort of agree that Fond du Lac is a very good option, as well as Waukesha, I think is the other one you
Yep.
liked. So they both are more graphical, which provides more interest. So it's not just a stodgy document that sits in the shelf that nobody reads besides us like once and
Right.
it's forgotten about. It also includes why statements about why each of the goals are important. So we as a board remember, the staff remembers, that I'm sure Desiree will always remember. So why are we doing these things?
And then we have the mission statement worksheet, I include that too,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Okay, so that's on the email, let me pull that up. Do you want me to sort of go through it, or?
Right, so this is kind of, so we met on August 3rd, and we kind of split up into two groups, and the group that I was with, Will's had offered 4 or 5 different examples of possible mission statements, and so we kind of took bits and pieces from each of those, and we came up with this sentence here, and that seemed to, for now, be the dominant one. So forwarding that for the board to talk about.
So this highlighted one,
So-
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems to be more inviting or warm, dynamic. I see mine didn't make the cut. My revision.
It did add poetry or whatever somebody wanted to do.
Right.
It's like,
I didn't get that comment. Needs more poetry.
That was my comment. So there's a lot of mission statements are, we do X, Y, Z to A, B, C, and it's so boring. Mission
Yeah.
statements should sort of guide us. What do we aspire to?
aspire, that's a good word.
And so that's why I offered more poetry.
Well, it does. It gets the feel in there, and then fresh language clarified. Did you come up? Who actually came up with the wordsmithing on this?
It was Will's, wasn't it? Or was it?
No, that was our group, so Kat helped a lot. I mean, we really talked about the nuances of some of the words, that we
Yes.
wanted to use the word spaces. We wanted to have something focused on employees, and we thought having a dedicated team, because we didn't wanna say, I forgot what the other words, we didn't want people to assume like we have the best team and they know all the answers to everything, so, but they were willing to try and find the answers, so that's why we like that word dedicated. We wanted spaces because we wanted to allude to the renovation and the outdoor space that we have, it's beautiful, so, and we wanted to make sure we mentioned the community connections, because we're really working on outreach.
Is it clear enough dedicated team, or do you need to say dedicated staff team? Is it clear already?
I
think team is a more poetic word than
It is more
staff.
correct, and it's shorter.
Yeah.
It's concise.
It also can incorporate a board.
Yeah.
So a board
Yeah.
that supports
And
staff.
Or some
friends.
volunteers that are
Pro
integral,
library
yeah,
board.
yeah.
Doug, did you have a question or a comment?
I have a comment. I think you should ditch the word empowered. It's overused, it's hacky, and you try a different one like energizes, or there's probably a thesaurus out there we could find, probably a dozen other words that would be different, yet everyone would know what it means.
It's overused, isn't it, empowered?
Empowered is used all the time, all over the place. This is empowered, you're empowered, we're empowered.
I got some indigestion with it. There might be another word.
I'm sure we can find out like how would energize. There's a lot of words that we could put, I think would pop it a bit better, but that's just me.
I see near the bottom, the Madison Public Library has a shortened version of their vision statement. Have we thought about if we want one, what it might look like?
Right, so these are the possible
These are
taglines.
These are
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, so that's what we were.
We didn't
so she
see
gave
their
it-
whole one, right? Madison's, we haven't on here, we don't see their whole.
We don't see their mission
Right.
statement,
Okay.
but so, right, so the tagline kind of pulls from the words that you're using in the
Mhm.
mission statement.
Mhm. Yeah.
Typically, I mean, it wouldn't have to. But yeah, I mean, Susie was talking about how she feels it would be helpful as marketing, you know, when they have a poster together to just be able, you wouldn't put your whole mission statement
Sure.
on there, but to put the tagline below the logo.
Yep.
So,
And I'm just curious where anybody would see the mission statement, because I don't remember ever seeing the old one. You always have to have one, but they're very seldom used.
Right,
So-
that was a question that Will's asked at the meeting, like, does
Yeah.
anybody use it? And I said, well, when you apply for grants, they always
Okay.
want to see your mission
Okay,
statement,
so
so
you
you
need to
have
go-
to provide
okay.
for
Probably
that.
somewhere on the
You never
website.
know, you might
Right.
need it sometime.
I just wondered if it's out on a line, on a banner outside or
Well,
something, or
the-
inside, right?
The old one has been, I mean, the old one is like that 70s and 80s, like they all sound like this.
Yeah.
That's the very generic one, so it wasn't really widely used, but I like the new one better, so, yeah,
I also think you should ditch the word connections
okay.
and find a different word for it, like community, I don't know, friendships, I don't know.
Well, that's
I
what it's
know.
saying, community connections.
But connections, again, it seems to be sterile and there's gotta be another word. I mean, I like the structure, but
Collaborations, community collaborations.
I don't know.
I think that means the same thing.
Yeah, no, he just didn't like.
I mean, connections just, again, it just seems like it's used a lot. I'm sure we could find something else.
It's not that bad though, is
Yeah,
it?
I really like the word connections.
Yeah,
I do
Because,
too, there.
It's information, it's people.
I was
We're
just
not
gonna say
voting on
something.
it, I'm just saying, it doesn't,
Me too.
it just doesn't feel, I think we could do better. But, okay, it's whatever you guys want.
Okay,
So this is just input session, is that what you're saying?
as far as
Okay.
question for Andy or Desiree. Are we working with the same person who designed the, campaign planning booklet thingy with the cute girl in front?
No, Will's
For-
is.
okay,
This is.
Will's is doing it
Right.
in-house, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
What was the name of the woman that spoke to us online during our meeting?
For strategic planning?
That was Laura Damon Moore, right.
Is she still working with you?
Yeah. Yeah, this meeting was in person at the library.
So she was involved?
Mhm.
Did she give input on this?
Right, I
So
mean,
let's see.
so they had like 5 different options for us to choose from, and we kind of picked and,
Okay, good.
cut and.
Well,
pasted.
overall, I think it's good, don't you guys think?
yeah,
I like it.
I mean, I'll ask Will's for other word suggestions for those 2 words, and maybe Kat.
I
if
like
she's really
connections,
good
I
at
think
the
it's
words.
Connections,
more
I don't
than
have a
one,
problem with that.
meaning there.
Well, this current one could be option A and then option B
Right,
and C.
yeah, yep.
We can
Okay.
vote on A, B, C, or D or whatever.
Do we vote?
No,
No, not today.
Not today.
Any other discussion on the strategic planning process or the mission statement / tagline?
That's a mouthful.
We're gonna move to receive update on campaign planning committee.
So we're in the process of reaching out to businesses. I think we've had 3 jump on. I need to do lots of follow-up. I do know a couple of others are interested, so we just need to get them nailed down. The banks, it seems, they have to go to corporate and talk about it, so we just need to follow up at this point in time.
Okay.
So,
Questions on that?
and then, I guess I'll just put this
Sure.
under here. So I am working with staff so Engberg Anderson had sent a sketch of the entryway, because we don't have a set design for that yet. So staff are kind of reworking it, that angle in the front of the desk is just hard to deal with accomplishing, that we want 2 workstations where we're serving the public, one lower, one higher. We also would like a place for processing to happen, because when Robin and Andrew are on desks, they do a lot of book covering, when it's not busy, and they need a taller counter for that. We're gonna be moving the photocopier out into that area, kind of where the CSA drop-off is right now, so that's where the copier will go. We still need space for all the red bins and delivery, and where we're processing delivery. So staff have really been working to try and figure this out and get a configuration back to them to play off of. And then I would like them to revise all the numbers so we know exactly what the costs are. Most of the people that I'm hearing from are saying the costs are going down, so
Yeah.
hopefully it won't be too much of a surprise. So, except for Adam, who said costs are going up. But like everybody else I've talked to has said that they're hearing construction costs are coming down, so.
I think it's still going up. There's a lot of construction going on, those are squeezing. Costs are going up because there's a lot of building going on, not enough supply, so.
Okay.
You look it over here, college building, football stadium, science addition. Boys and girls stuff's gonna start to be built, the city's planning on their DPW, so.
Right.
Maybe, who knows? Won't know until we get there.
Right.
All right, we're gonna move to receiving an update from the finance committee.
Oh, you can come in and do this now.
I mean, it kind of listed the 3 bullet points of things to discuss.
If you don't want to,
So.
Gary, I can take it, I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we met, was that last week? Last week.
I think I saw you right after.
To discuss how we want to designate and what we wanna put in our little pots of money. And I'm trying to remember. We had a discussion about we talked about percentages and like how much we wanna leave in each pot, and we talked about taking, when we wanted to bring to the board, taking most of what we have in our OACF funds now, aside from what we have set aside from the renovation, so our additional pot that's sitting there, and putting it in the renovation fund to really kickstart what we've got going. You know, that's kind of a twofold thing. We can kickstart what we've got going since fundraising has kind of plateaued because we're competing with a lot of folks. But also honestly, when it comes time for budget, we don't have this magic pot of money just sitting there, like it's been allocated and maybe we've already started spending it down a little. So I don't know if we wanna open the floor for discussion now, if we wanna go through updates.
Well, and I
for
think we
things.
were gonna leave those amounts in the other pots.
Right.
10,000 in each one
Yes,
with the intent to never go below 5.
correct,
So
yeah,
we would
So-
spend the interest or spend new donations, but never go below 5. So those other pots be set, so that everything is designated. So there's
Yes.
these small amounts in these, and then this big amount is for the renovation.
correct.
So
We
that
have
it's all
five-
assigned.
We have 5 pots aside from the renovation fund, so we talked about designating 10,000 to each pot. So that's $50,000 that's designated between these 5 pots equally. And then we talked about a policy of not spending down more than 50% of what's in the pot at any given time. And of course, the board can supersede that if we so choose. And then anything that's left over in our general pot that's not in our renovation fund, we talked about bringing over into our renovation fund. So we can really inject that money into the project and get it going. Instead of waiting and kind of everything's petering out, or we're not really sure if we're gonna get any things, we have a lot of stuff that's committed, and I'm just concerned that if we continue to wait and not get this going, we're gonna lose any more steam. And also, like I said, when it comes time to budget, for the budget approval, and they look in at our OACF money, everything's designated. Like, there's nothing just sitting there undesignated, unrestricted. Everything has been planned, everything's been
Makes sense.
allocated. So I'd love to hear people who aren't on the finance committee, their thoughts.
And then when you go to do further fundraising, if anybody would look at us sitting on that 200,000 or 300,000, they'd wonder why.
Why haven't you put
Right.
that to
Right.
the renovation?
What are the 5 sub-pots?
Do you have
Question.
I don't have that offhand. It's
Here, I
continue,
don't
it's
think
continue
it's-
education, technology, new collections,
Materials.
cosmetic improvements, and I think outdoors are the
Let me
5.
look it up here.
And then putting all the money into the construction, then 15% of that is gonna be held back.
Right,
for
so as part of-
contingency and overrun.
Right, so this would kind of be done first, and then in the expenditure policy, which would be in a couple of topics, we have said that once we get new numbers revised, we would hold back 15% in case there are any cost overruns on the project, so.
Oh, please.
Have you thought about why 5 pots? It's a lot of different chunks of change. What about like 3 more general pots? So you have more freedom, so
This is what we had already approved.
operations, facilities, and
Yeah, we looked at a bunch of examples and pared it down and thought these made sense to us. Yes,
And that the
right?
board has already approved as the investment.
The
policy.
pots were
Right.
approved,
Right.
So, right.
Right.
I know I have it in my email here, just bear with
And the board, has authority to move from fund to fund.
Yeah, we haven't specified the reasons why, I thought we were gonna do that.
Well, it'd be,
Guidance.
it would be discussed at a board meeting.
Investment. Okay,
Right,
so we have Library Collection Improvement Fund. This fund enables the library to establish new collections and grow them to an appropriate size, wonder books, large print, etc., beyond the capability of the library materials operating budget. Then the second pot, Library Programming Support Fund. This fund supports the cost of offering a variety of educational and cultural programming to Ripon area residents beyond story time, which is accommodated within the library's operating budget. Library Facility Improvement Fund. This fund enables the library to maintain or improve the quality of visitor experiences through cosmetic improvements to the building beyond the capability of the operating budget. Library Technology Fund enables the library to acquire and implement technologies beyond what we're capable of within the operating budget. And Library Development and Support Fund. This provides support to a variety of activities that strengthen the library's capacity to provide excellent library services. Let's see, for example, this fund may support specific projects called for in the library's strategic plan, staff development, conference attendance, training, education, or costs associated with fundraising and donor development. So those are the five. Then we have the renovation fund, and then we have one sort of additional fund, which is the memorial fund, which is the special use sort of pot, where like if we get a grant from Webster's or we get,
No, it would
no,
be for,
sorry,
it would be for donations that are longer term, that
Oh,
aren't
that's right.
necessarily meant to be spent right away.
correct, they sit
So
there.
So a few years ago, when a patron's mother passed away, they donated a few $1,000s to be spent on books. Well, that's a lot to spend in 1 year, especially because it was a specific type of book. So we've just kind of been using a little bit every year. So it'd be something that's meant to be used and not meant to be as a quasi endowment, but over it would take more than that
Not
much
one
a year.
chunk, yeah.
Any other donations that we would get in the future for memorials that are to be spent right away or grants would go through the operating budget. They'd be deposited in the city in the book account, and then we'd be spending
Right,
out of the
yep.
book account, so.
So I guess I wanna know if we wanna vote now, cause the finance committee is on board with allocating 10,000 to each of these 5 funds and then taking all of the rest of what's in our generalized funding and moving it to the renovation
With the
fund.
holding of the overage.
Correct, we said 20%, I think, that's
Well,
right.
that would be, it would still all go into the renovation
Yeah.
fund, it would just
But it'd
be,
be
that's,
labeled
that's,
as-
yeah.
Right, so we hold back, I think we said 15 or 20% of what would
But it's still in the renovation fund.
Right,
Mhm.
what would be living in the renovation fund, we'd kind of, I don't wanna say earmark, but we'd know that 15 to 20% of what's in there is going to be to hopefully cover the bubble if we're over anywhere, or if we discover that, I don't know, there's mold somewhere, or one of the bathroom pipes, I don't know, some crazy something, so we wouldn't have to depend on the city for anything, cause the city has expressed concern, what happens when you can't cover the cost and we're left with the invoice basically. So we're trying to be proactive about that so that that doesn't happen. So does anybody have any like straight up objection to, Andy, did you?
Quick question.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So these are endowments or quasi endowments?
These are all quasi
Yes.
Awesome, there are no endowments.
That's what I took from that too, yeah.
so if I died and left $500,000 to the library as an endowment, that would be a separate fund.
Yes, that would be a separate.
And I endowed it for,
We'd need $1 million at least.
sure, I'll write you out a check.
If you endowed it for new wallpaper, I don't know.
How about I endow this for new wallpaper every 5 years?
So
Or
I'm-
new
There you
I'm glad-
flooring every 5 years.
I'm glad Doug's still living, but
I don't have the money, so don't
What-
try to snub
remind me,
somewhere.
where did we get this pot of money to begin with? This elusive pot,
People donated.
over a
It's
period
not
of-
from the city,
over
ever.
a period of years.
I was told when I started that some of it, I mean, it was a lot lower, we had maybe 60 to 100,000 when I started, and that a significant portion was left over from when they did the building renovation here in 95 to 97, 98, that it was left over. People were very generous, they had raised a lot of money, and so it was supposed to go towards like future maintenance and renovation and things like that. We started doing the Giving Tuesday campaign about 5 years ago, and we've gotten about 10 to 15,000 every year donated from that. And the rest of it has all been market gains. Like, we've been very fortunate that it's been a lot of market.
So to be very
So-
clear, it is not tax levy, it
Yeah.
is not anything from the city, whether it's budget, tax levy, it's all donation.
So we're not gonna be questioned.
No, there's paper trail upon paper trail at the OACF with where it came
It
from.
seems to make sense to designate it.
Well,
That's
that
how I
was the-
feel.
That was the request by, partly with the memo from the city, this was
Right.
what they'd like to see. And then people, when it comes in, will be able to choose those funds
Right.
if they donate more money.
Yeah.
So
Or
I'm
it
in
doesn't make-
favor of designating, I'm having a hard time with that word tonight, 10,000 to each of the 5 pots, and then taking what's remaining in our generalized fund and moving it to the renovation fund.
I am too. Do I have to make a motion?
Well,
How much would that put in the renovation fund then?
do you,
It was around 250,000. We do owe wills for the strategic planning though, so that does need to come out.
Is that about 30?
No, I think
About
about 15,
yeah.
12 to 15.
think
So
that's what
that
we
would
approved.
bring us around 250 in the renovation fund? Is that stuff?
No, we,
Additional, 250
yeah,
additional.
we had designated 100,000, the board had already voted to put 100,000 in.
So
That was
cash
a
on
couple
hand,
years ago.
we've said was like 4, no, more than that.
400,000?
It's about 400,000 cash on hand.
And then
right now
with commitments, it was like 675,
Right.
775.
For the building.
for the building.
Yeah.
For the renovation.
When are those commitments coming in?
So a large portion of them are 100 Extraordinary Women,
Okay,
and a lot of them are over the course of 5 years, so those will trickle in. We have $100,000 from a donor that we can activate, as far as I'm understanding, when we need it.
okay,
And then
The community
Business
foundation,
department.
well, the community foundation will be paying their other 20,000 next year. And then
Okay.
and then the business partnerships, we're giving them for 3 additional years, so the first,
So we're close, is that what you wanted to know?
yeah, I'm kind of wanting to know when we are going to hire a contractor or an engineer.
right, well, that's I think we're all like ready to get it going. I think,
Okay,
we have a lot of steam, and I just feel like every month that passes that we don't get
Right,
something
so
going, it's like
we'll-
people are like, well, what's going
we'll
on?
need to hire an engineer and an architect.
right, so this is why I'm trying to get the entryway design
Right.
finished with Engberg Anderson, so they can rerun the numbers, so then we can go start
So
working
then
on
we
it.
could,
Mhm.
We'll start the
contractor.
bid process with the city,
Yep,
right,
and under
They're-
their
they're-
guidance.
They know what they're doing
Yes,
here.
yep. We are full steam ahead with having them help us with bidding, because
Yeah,
they
we
know
don't
everything.
Screw it up.
right,
No,
right.
we don't
We
want
don't
that.
do this every day.
No.
And then I don't know if it's appropriate right now, but Desiree and Lauren maybe are going to present to the council.
Right,
That's the plan.
Right.
So we will, regardless of what we decide here with our expenditures and what we're doing in terms of our investments and our pots of money, Desiree and I want to make a presentation in front of Common Council to, I guess, just like 5 seconds, let them know that we've increased transparency, but we've also become better stewards with our finances because of the creation of the finance committee. And let them know that we're working like hand in hand with the city.
Fire steward just was the same as we were, we just.
Well, improve our,
organized,
right,
if you will.
our organization, there you go, Gary, thank you.
Better-
Communicate.
Better
Yes.
sound if we weren't doing
But-
this.
Have Gary approve your language.
Yes,
There you go.
But we're working hand in hand with the city to just get on board and make sure we're on track, because truthfully, we don't wanna be anywhere near where the fire district is, and I know the city is concerned with every department being near where the fire district is, so we just wanna let them know.
But the main part is to present about
Right,
the
building
renovation.
plan, yeah,
and
the
we know
renovation
what we're
is-
doing,
There,
so.
that's probably how it'll appear
Timeline,
on the
update,
agenda, is,
yep.
yep, a report on the proposed
Renderings,
plan.
yes, all of it. Yes, so that's sort of also in development as well.
Do you want Gary with you?
Do you wanna be there, Gary?
I'm tied up.
Anyway, we should get back to
Yes.
to this. So the first point is the allocations to the designated funds.
Do you need
So-
a motion?
If, if anybody, first of all, does anybody have any further discussion about allocating 10,000 to each of the 5 pots? Making it an allocation in total of 50,000 to our funds.
I can follow my motion, the discussion. So I'm gonna move that we, as presented from the finance committee, the plan presented by the finance committee.
Okay, can I get a second?
Now we can, or we know, wait, it'll die without a second, yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, thumbs up on that, wonderful.
So I will then get in touch with the community foundation.
Just that line.
Good stuff.
Okay, the second part, can I?
Sure, go for it.
The second part is that we did receive an estate gift several months ago. The patron passed away. The language in the gift first says that it's to be used for books, but it's $5,000 and that's a lot of money for books. And otherwise it says to be used and recognized in memory of his mother. So the recommendation that I gave to the finance committee, which they agreed, is to put the $5,000 in the renovation fund. His mother's name will be added to the 100 Extraordinary Women list, so in memory of it. And then if we have any other, other donor recognition, her name would also go under there because it's $5,000 more than just $1,000. So, and I feel like that's still within the intent of the gift as it was written. So.
Would you like a vote on that? Okay. Any further discussion before we throw a motion out there?
So, Mr. Mullin?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right. Draft expenditure policy. Let's take a look.
Is it percentages on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that on the email?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, the investment policy.
Yes.
Right, okay.
No, the expenditure. You're in a different email.
Oh, that's probably why.
Thank you.
There we go, okay. Any questions, concerns, comments?
I mean, so the main thing is section C with the spending guidelines. So for those other 5 funds, those are the general ones. And then for the specific funds, it's that renovation fund that we would hold back 15% of any large scale project cost estimate when the project gets underway, so that in case there are any unexpected costs, that would then be used to cover it. And then just that special memorial fund, which is not meant to be a quasi endowment, that is meant to be spent, so.
I move that we accept this draft that the finance committee presented.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Okay, excellent. All right, now we're going to move to receiving an update on the 2024 budget.
So I did include a revised version of the budget. There's been a change in an employee's health insurance, which is less cost to the library. So I did go through, since I had a little more time, I did make a couple of other adjustments in some line items. I don't have my copy of all the notes on it. I made the fines and fees even less based on the last couple of weeks of revenue have been much lower, and I thought that even my original lowering was not enough. And then made a couple of other increases elsewhere.
Which
But-
attachment is this in?
The draft of the budget.
Thank you.
So our original increase request was gonna be at 3.5%, and this is instead, I think, it's less than 1% increase, so right around almost exactly $4,000 more that we're asking for, so.
Did you talk to Adam yet?
No, I've been working with Amanda.
Okay, it is, what is she indicating? Maybe?
She said it looks great.
Right.
That
That's
was,
probably all she
that was
can
all,
say, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, they haven't asked for any changes.
I've noticed that I know the health and life insurance, with the WRS,
Mhm.
that surcharge is coming off this year,
Mhm.
but it's going up 15%.
It's really that high, okay.
Yeah, so.
I had included a 4% increase,
It's,
like minus the surcharge, like,
yeah, my surcharge, Adam's saying it's gonna go 15%, so there will be only a slight dip
okay,
in insurance costs next year, so you might wanna check with our finance director about that and adjust that, cause I know that throws everything.
I don't think I took any dip though, I think I took the numbers from last year and added 4%. And so I didn't,
I think it's Adam said let's say 15%.
okay. Yeah, I will double check with her.
Yeah,
on
double
that.
check with that, 57,000, I think it's gonna be closer to 70 or 68,000, it's another 10 right there.
Hmm.
Perhaps. So,
And unlike last year, this year the city wanted all our numbers again. So, which is fine, I'm glad that they see all of the numbers and just not the bottom line.
Context, right.
So, right.
Which is back to what it had always been.
Right, it had always been
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so Amanda did get basically a similar version to what you are seeing right here, not just the
Okay.
$452,000 number, so that way they compare. This does include the 3% raise that the city had already pre-approved for.
We hadn't heard from the county yet, correct?
So, I have not heard from the county, so I've got our 100% number. As far as I know, the meeting went well, so, but yeah. Yep. So that's an update, I mean, so far, so good.
Any questions on that? Alrighty, we're gonna move to reviewing and discussing the meeting room policy.
For which?
Meeting room
Meeting
policy.
room policy.
So this was really good. Linda and Ben and Susie and I all miraculously had like an hour and a half to meet together.
Wow. Cool.
And just kind of hash out meeting room use. So we have decided, so Linda has been doing story time in the Nash room, and we've had the actual story time room has been set up for romper room. And it gets a lot of use, but it doesn't get, it's not used every day, all day, you know.
That's
So
down here.
that's down here. So story time is gonna be transitioning back into the story time room as it was intended for. At one point, we had also had really nice equipment, digital overhead projector put in and a screen. Because when we first started showing movies here on a regular basis, we were showing them in the Silver Creek room, and people complained that it was too bright with the windows in the afternoon. And so we thought, oh, the story time room, it's only used for story time. It sits empty otherwise. We're gonna put the equipment in there. It's dark, it's a smaller area, so the surround sound will be great. Except now there's the romper room in there. So showing movies, because we are showing, we do a couple of showings once a week for diverse options, and then we have our regular movie showings once a week also. So we don't wanna take up the romper room space that often with movies, and then there would be a lot of moving chairs in and out. So we are gonna have that digital overhead projector moved into the Nash room. Well, that one's gonna move into here because it's the better one, so it's gonna be in the bigger room. This one's gonna move to the Nash room. We're gonna get a sound system in the Nash room, so that way both of the main rooms will have comparable equipment for the public to use, so it's not confusing as to if I'm in this room, I have this, but I don't have it in that room. And then, like I said, story time is gonna be transitioning back into that room, and we're gonna develop some storage recommendations for the romper room thing, or solutions. We're coming up with storage solutions for some of the toys where they can go when story time is happening, because if you leave all the toys out, the kids are just going to play and not listen to Linda, as entertaining as she is. So all very positive with staff. Susie will be showing movies for diverse options, and the other movie showing in the Nash room. Just a little smaller room and easier to facilitate that. And then this leaves this room available for hosting bigger meetings. So. And so that was like the first part of our discussion, and then the second part was, as I'd mentioned previously, about loosening up our policy and offering rooms available for use at a cost for programs involving sales, advertising, solicitation, and personal parties, for similar activities. So, so we looked at a couple of other policies and what we had and kind of refined them. So this is what staff came up with, and I think everybody was pretty much in agreement with this, like all happy.
Good.
This is, if, you know, so if this is how the board wants to go, then.
It shouldn't, I guess, my concern would be, are there enough staff when it's very low staffed on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, they've agreed they can handle this, right? Yeah, that's important. You don't want them to be pulled away to come down to do something here when there's only.
I've seen puppet shows and stuff on the main floor, over by where the kids' computers, is it, what do we call that? Does that have a name?
The puppet theater, that, we won't have that particular space when we do the renovation. The goal is to have the picture books be on wheels so that we can wheel the books out of the way if she does class presentations up there. We'll also have a meeting room up there, so if it was not, I don't know, the 20 kids are gonna fit in the room, but if it was a smaller, like a homeschool group, they could be in that room, so.
Thank you.
Yep. And so, and then if we approve this policy, staff will develop procedures and things for patrons to sign that say that they agreed to the policy. And so we'll work out all of the language to that and like what the responsibilities
And that
are.
money will go into a fund that the city labeled?
It would be
Just
part
slaughter
of,
use?
it would be part of our fines and fees that we
Yep,
take
okay.
every day. Yep. And we would be adding more cleaning supplies and probably at least one heavy duty vacuum for downstairs. We have a really nice vacuum upstairs, but just to have it available because people would be responsible for cleaning up after themselves and kind of have a checklist with staff for those instances where they're having food.
I was gonna say, did I miss an item about food? Is there an item on the rules for use about, like?
We already allow food.
Okay.
It's not anything new.
Okay.
So, and we do ask people to
Or
clean
whatever.
it. Mhm.
Okay.
Do we have to vote?
Move to accept the policy.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
Okay, that's good stuff.
Okay, we're gonna set the date and time for the next meeting, which is gonna be Tuesday, September 26th, 2023 at 5 p.m. Be sure to get your suggestions for the agenda to Desiree by the Wednesday before, Wednesday the 20th. And if there aren't any other comments or questions, we will end.